Welcome to the Ecom 80/20 podcast, the show for brands looking to compete and win at selling online by building better customer relationships. Hosted by Hyman and Jaguar, co-founders of HiFlyer Digital and marketing experts for 7, 8, and 9-figure brands, we'll reveal, discuss, and demystify the secret strategies that the top 1% use to acquire, convert, and retain customers better. Our mission is to help level the playing field and help you build more profitable, predictable, and scalable revenue streams for your business. Let's get started.
Welcome back to another episode of the Ecom 80/20 podcast. I'm your host, Jakob Rosenberg, with my partner, Hyman, and we are here to help e-commerce businesses work smarter, not harder. Today, we have another special guest, Azriel Ratz, crown emoji of Facebook ads. He's also known as the king of Facebook ads. We've practiced that before. And he runs paid media for large e-commerce and regular businesses, both lead generation and conversion metrics. And lives in Israel, a few blocks away from me. And we've known him for a couple of years, and I'm really excited to have him on our podcast today. So thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. We're looking forward. So tell us a little bit about what exactly is involved in Ratzpack Media, how you got started with it.
Yeah.
You've said you've been in business for about 7 years now. So tell us a little bit about it.
Coming up on the 7-year anniversary. Yeah. So the way I got into social media, I've been doing social media since 2012. And back then, people didn't really know, meaning obviously there were agencies, they existed. There were marketing agencies before 2012, but people didn't really think about, like, I have a business. There are people on the internet. I could tell them about my business and they'll buy my stuff. Like, that wasn't, for some reason, that didn't really click for most people. So when I had been working for this nonprofit and I came to my boss and I said, we should offer this service that we're doing to businesses that would pay money. And he thought it was the craziest idea. It was like an absurd idea. Why would people pay to market on the internet? And he was doing it for a nonprofit, but like the idea of a business paying for it was so crazy. So I left that business because I was so certain, because we had done it. We had proven that it worked. And now it was just like, we should do that for actual businesses that will pay money to do it. And I started the business 7 years ago. And when I started, people thought I was nuts. Like, everyone thought I was nuts. I went and I'm just like, we should do it on Facebook. And they're like, the cat video place, like the baby pictures, like, they were so confused. And I just sort of kept going because I was relatively confident that it worked. Like, I had spent already at that point $100,000 on ads. We figured out how to generate basically about 21 cents an email back then. Good luck getting that sort of metric these days. But those emails that we paid, I don't know, 22, 23 cents for, made $1.25 for the business every year after. So I've been gone now 7 years. They could have made over $10 from those emails that we paid 20 cents for a decade ago.
Wow.
So I was so sure this worked. This wasn't a question of could it work, like, it worked. And I went to people and I just said, like, you have a business, you should do this. And no one believed me for 18 months. I literally, like, went to conferences. I wrote blog posts, I made videos. Like, no one believed me for 18 months. And now we sit here in 2022, and the question isn't like, do you run Facebook ads? Like, how much do you spend on Facebook? Because there are businesses now that are literally only Facebook ad driven. 85% of their brand is the money made because of Facebook ads, whether that's an email that they collected from Facebook that they're now running ads to, or an actual sale happening on Facebook. So I don't have to show up today and say, like, have you thought of running ads on Facebook? It's like, we've already put $100,000 in and we're just trying to figure out how to get the best return. So that is how I started. I started before anyone thought that there was an idea to do Facebook ads. How did I learn Facebook ads? There was only one guy writing about Facebook ads on the internet. His name was John Loomer. And all he had, meaning he's really great. I actually met him in person, gave him a big hug, and he was like really confused. Why are you touching me? But which is very much his personality. He was just writing like, you know, you want to make Facebook ads, you should like press these buttons, and then this is the size of the image you should make. Like, it was the most basic stuff because that was all there was. There wasn't, you know, Tim Bird's bully method. There wasn't, you know, Magic's create 1 million audiences. There wasn't any of this stuff to make Facebook ads. It was, I was running 200 ads per ad set, which isn't even possible anymore, to test like hundreds of variables and switching the placements of the words and the different pictures and testing different thumbnails, like hundreds of ads at a time, like thousands of ads at a time, active, testing tiny little things between each other, because there was no playbook. When back then there wasn't a play, it was just like, there's all this money, there's all these people, they're just going to swipe their credit card on our website and make us a lot of money. We should keep doing this.
Okay.
And it was just like knocking on doors, like, do you want to make money? And they're like, nah, no, not yet. Come back in a year. So it's like crazy to see messages now from like a few years ago where my rate was like $500. I was like, please let me make you money. I will take anything. And that's how it started. Now everyone on there, and they're like, you know, their granddaughter is a Facebook ad manager. I was like my wife was going shopping this week and today actually, and we're at a store and I'm like, oh, I do Facebook ads. She's like, doesn't everyone do Facebook ads? And I was like, yeah, I've seen a lot of those people. They've come and gone.
What's fascinating though is you know, and I want to get into your name in a second, Ratz Media. I'll get back to that in a second, but you know, our brand is called HiFlyer Digital, and the reason we call that like that is because of the flywheel way of method of marketing. Retention, acquisition fuels retention, then retention goes back and fuels acquisition, and that's how that flywheel kicks in. And so from what you're saying, it seems like so many brands were focused on, hey, I have a lot of eyeballs out there, let me acquire as many as I can. Yet, as you just said, retaining that lead and growing their value is super high priority right now.
Yeah. I mean, especially in the world we live in post iOS 14, the name of the game is average, you know, lifetime value of the user. If you're not figuring out how to make the most money out of your users, you're losing a lot of money. So for sure, definitely agree to that statement.
Yeah. Okay. So Isaac, you were going to ask about his brand name. Where did you come up? I mean, obviously it's your last name, but Ratz Media. What were you going for?
Name in it. It's on this side, the mirror. Yeah. So the story was that my grandfather actually had a publishing house that he called Rat Pack, and I thought it was a little ironic that he like didn't write his own name in it. So I figured I would just fix the name of his publishing company to Ratz Pack. So I don't own that publishing company. That publishing company doesn't exist anymore. But it's like on the label of his book, which I might even have somewhere. It's never gotten a shout out on a podcast before, but just as by the way.
First for everything.
On the side, it says Rat Pack on it. And so I was just like, this sort of makes a lot of sense. And then the logo is actually created for me for free by this guy, Jose, who is really great. When I first started my business, I was on an app called Dust, Cyber Dust, which became Dust. It was owned by Mark Cuban. And at that time in 2015, when I was sort of like, I had come to this realization that I was actually going to leave my job to do this thing. And I don't know if you remember your first job. I had that job I had for 3.5 years. And so I was like in this place in my life that it was really my first real job. And I was like, I will die working for this business. I will be here forever. This is it. I accomplished all the accomplishments there is to make. I have achieved the highest.
You were like 22
I will
at the
achieve.
time,
This
right?
is it. And I was there. Yeah, maybe. I was 16. And I had come to the realization that it wasn't working anymore there, and I had to go. It was time to go. And I was starting to get on social media platforms because I knew that if I was leaving, I needed a way to talk to people that weren't like the people in my office. So I started getting on these like really niche, small social media platforms. I don't know how long you've been in this space, but like Meerkat and Periscope were sort of like, it wasn't just them. There were a lot of these small little niche social media platforms that kind of emerged during that time. And my goal was just figure out how to sort of hack them to become relatively popular on the platforms, just to show I could do it. And then go to clients and be like, you want to do that thing? We should do that thing. And so Cyberdust was the one I had focused on. I had become relatively large on that platform to the point where Mark Cuban was retweeting, whatever the term was, my posts about social media on them, which is relatively wild.
That is pretty wild.
And I basically said, I've decided I want to start this business. Here I am. I want to start this business. And this guy's like, well, you can't have a business without a logo. And I'm like, sure. And he's like, I'll just do it. I'll just make it. And he started like these drawings. He just made a bunch of drawings. And I was just like, those look sweet. I'll take that. And I basically had the community vote on which ones they liked the best. And the community on Cyberdust literally designed the name, the logo, the colors, everything. Like he had like these red colors and these, like, we tested a whole bunch of stuff. And the community on Cyberdust actually like voted for everything about the company, because I was building it in real time while I was on this platform that then totally died. I don't even think they're on the App Store anymore. And then I did relatively the same thing for Whale, which was also this super niche little platform that existed for 3.5 minutes. And essentially my goal was just like build a community there, become relatively well known. It's how I became the king of Facebook. I did not call myself the king of Facebook ads. I was called that because of my like 1,500 videos I made on that platform about Facebook ads. And I would just show up and be like, so what do you guys think I should do? And they'd be like, do this thing. And I was like, I should do that thing. And then I did that thing. And here I am almost 7 years later, still doing that thing from before.
Nice.
It keeps working.
Look, what that tells you is that, number one, it's user-generated content, right? You're getting as much input as you possibly can from your community, building that community. Look, it's a microcosm, but it's the idea behind it is just like you basically created your own brand based off of community input, which is exactly what companies, especially in e-commerce, should be doing, right? We don't know what's going to work until the audience tells us what's going to work. We don't know what products are going to sell until the audience,
I have a rule of
customers
thumb.
tell us, right?
I have a rule of thumb that the creative you hate the most will perform the best on your ads.
Yeah.
It's a general rule. If you come to me and be like, I really don't like this, I will spend as much money as physically possible on that ad because it is the winner. It is the winner. Why? It's really not clear. I've looked at ads. We have, really great product pictures. Nope, those don't work. This horribly bad lit image that, is a little fuzzy, that doesn't really fit the shape of the Facebook ad. It's kind of cut off. Yeah, that's getting a 17 times return. Yes, everybody's going to spend a bunch of money on that. So
that's part of the test.
It's a very funny thing, but usually that's how it works. The worst creative is the winner.
Exactly. So what is it that RatsPack Media does exactly? How do they define their customer base, their audience, and especially your clients that you attract?
Yeah. So I've been addressing this question a lot lately.
But I can bring it up again.
I think about it this way. What do you say?
Good that I can bring it up for you again.
Good. Perfect. So being that there's a lot of people, well, let's say it a different way. So Facebook has created a relatively simple tool to spend your money, right? Like the actual Facebook ad platform is relatively intuitive, especially with boost posts. You could press like 3 buttons and be spending your money. So they've done a pretty good job of making it easy enough to run a Facebook ad. So the step number one is like actually understanding how to run a Facebook ad. That's a pretty easy thing to do. Like there are 90 million businesses on Facebook. Pretty sure most of those have spent at least a couple of dollars on Facebook. They spend money. Like that business does not need to hire a Facebook ad manager. They are just spending, they're doing the thing Facebook wants, which is getting you to spend money on Facebook. Then there's the next step, which is actually like creating your first campaign on Facebook. You go into Ad Manager, you create your custom audiences, and you press some buttons, and you're running your first ad. So back in the day, that was a difficult thing to do. It wasn't an easy thing to set up. The pixels back then, in your header tag, now Shopify, it's like you literally just copy paste the code and you're done, finish. It was relatively complicated to set up a pixel. It was complicated to create an audience. It was hard to understand what an audience did and what it meant and how it worked. And the setup was complicated. Today, you could probably pay a person on Fiverr like $5 or $10 to set up a campaign. It's not like the actual stuff, pressing the buttons is not the hard part of this business. What happens is you come to Facebook with a strategy. Someone has to think of a strategy. Is it retargeting? Is it totally cold audiences? Is it, this one I love with coaches where they'll run like a series of videos. You have to watch. You can't see video 2 till you watch 50% of video 1. And then they set up these like funny funnels where you're excluding and including, and it's like this super weird targeting. I'm totally against it, but we can get into that later if you want. But basically, you come up with a strategy. You're like, this is the strategy I want. Pay the guy on Fiverr $5 to set it up, right? So what people forget about Facebook ads is the hard part isn't the setup. It's the thing that you set up, the actual idea you have, the funnel. So you could just, you could get real lucky. I want to target my email subscribers on Facebook with the last thing I sent in the email newsletter. And I'm going to send them to the product page of that email newsletter. I'm going to press go and I'm going to do it, and it's going to spend my money, and it works, and I made money, and I'm so happy. Great. I spent $100 on my email list and I made $500. I'm super happy. I made a 5 times return. Now the thing is, I want to keep doing that. I want to spend $1,000, but you're now out of people on your email list. So now what do? Oh, well, I guess I could run it to like my Facebook page engagement, but they don't work as well as my email subscribers. So now instead of 500, I'm going to make 225. So now all of a sudden I'm like, well, it was so great when it was at my email subscribers, but now it's not working. So now I got to come up with a better strategy. That work is the hard part. The work of how do I continue to do as well as I'm doing on a large scale for as long as possible, to as many people as possible, for an entire, as long as I can, right? It's not one campaign and $1. It's 1,000 campaigns and $100 million forever. Right. So the hard part of Facebook ads is constantly coming up with a new thing to do that's worth doing. So that is what people pay good money for. People will not pay, if they have the strategy, they don't need you. They already want this strategy. But what happens when you can't just use that strategy anymore? You have to come up with new things. That is where the money is made. And so, for example, my biggest client, and the rule of thumb for them is I can either say who they are or what their numbers are. So I will not say what they are. Don't ask me later. They are a brand. They sell a thing on the internet. And when they came to me, they were spending $5,000 to $8,000 a month on Facebook ads. And their return was craziness, like 22 times return, something like absurd numbers. Okay, you imagine, here's $5,000. Their return was like $100,000, like some insane number. Okay, and now I came to them and said, why are you only spending $5,000? What's happening? And they're like, well, we've tapped out all of the best audiences. Like, we're targeting who you'd expect: their email subscribers, their website visitors, 30 days, and their email and their Instagram engagement, 15 days. That was it. That was all the audience. They were done. We've tapped out. There's no more to spend. I'm like, but there's 1 billion people on Facebook. Now there's almost 3 billion people on Facebook. There's so much more to do. There's way more people that don't know who you are. And we now spend $8,000 a day on Facebook.
Oh my gosh.
So sometimes, in fact, yesterday was an $11,000 day. We spend more in a single day than they did then. Now, they don't get a 22 times return because that's nuts. No one is getting a 22 times return on $10,000 a day in ad spend, but they are getting like an 8 or a 9 or 11 times return.
Still
And those are relatively normal numbers. So if you could choose between spending $5,000 in a whole month to make 20 times, or spend $5,000 a day to make 10 times, and all of a sudden your brand just went from making like $3 to $5 million a year to being a brand that made $30 million last year.
wow.
So that is the skill people pay for. They don't need you to set up a little campaign targeting their email subscribers. They need to know how to scale and optimize and continue to get the results that still makes them profitable, that still finds them new audiences, that still makes it worthwhile to keep spending money on ads years after they've been working with you.
And the scalability here is so important, right? That's actually why on our side of the business, and again, you're on the paid side, we're on the retention side, the scalability potential is in the automations. How do you scale up the kind of the campaigns that are really doing well to a 24/7, 365? But what we found, and I'd love to hear your take on that, is that, like you said, people don't pay you to set up, the technical aspects or get the dev stuff running. Anyone could do that, just like anyone could send an email or a text. That anyone could do that, right? Who can't do that? But what a lot of brands struggle with is not only, like you said, the strategy, but also in the content creation. All right, how do you overcome people that just want to grow really fast, but haven't cracked the nut on the right content and how to test against it?
So if I meet a new brand, usually the reason why a new brand doesn't succeed is because they're not creating enough content. So I personally don't make content. That is not a thing I do. Do not let me into Adobe Photoshop. It will not be pretty. I think I did take AP computer graphics back in the day, but it is not in my brain anymore. So if I meet a new brand and they're not actively making content, I already know it's a bad sign for how well ads are going to do, because they need a lot of content. You have to make enough stuff to test when you're running ads. And the process, many times the brand has a voice that they need to speak for themselves. Like, it's not so easy to just hire some person on the internet and say, make me content. I personally prefer when the content producers are working for the brand, because then, one, they can do whatever they send me. I know it's the brand voice, and they usually they're focused on just making lots of content, right? They can make me a lot of content. So if I meet a brand that isn't actively investing in additional content, I already know I'm not in the greatest place, because you're going to need as much content as you can get. Now, what works is what we spoke about already. Usually your ugliest piece of content will work the best. That's just how it is. But there's obviously the confines of the platforms. So today, Facebook suggests using square images with 1080 by 1080 images. So you don't want to make images that have stuff cut off, right? You want to make sure that the image fits in the box. You want to make sure that it's at least that big so that it loads properly on the person's newsfeed. But as an example, I will find sometimes that businesses aren't spending enough on story ads. And I'm like, well, do you create imagery that fits that size? Facebook has actually been doing some testing around just using the square image and having like a gradient color imagery behind. Yeah, I've seen that. They take like whatever the most used color on the image is, and they'll just choose it, and that will be the background of that image. Obviously, the more immersive and good quality experience that the business can make, the better. So a lot of times I'll just suggest them, like, can you just give me the same image in story size as well? But as far as like what the thing that works the best is very much a matter of doing a lot of testing. Sometimes it really just is, here's 100 creatives. Let me throw them at the wall of Facebook, see what sticks, then see if I can repeat it. and then see if I can test a new audience to it. So like my normal suggestion when a business is really like just starting out is you take your best audiences. Do I want to go this way? I'm going to explain it. I'm going to take one step back from that sentence. I'm going to explain it just a little bit more clear so that we don't get confused when we get to the next step. So when I look at a Facebook ad, to me, a Facebook ad has 3 parts to it: the person you're targeting, the thing that you show them, and the offer after they click on the ad.
Right.
So if you don't show up to the Facebook, you don't show up to Facebook knowing that some of those things work, you're going to waste a lot of money. And what does that mean? So if you don't know who to target, like you got this product, but you're not really sure who buys it, okay? Then, so that's the who. I call that the who. Like, who is the person that buys your thing? Then the what is the actual thing you are trying to promote. Does anyone want this thing? And then the third part is the how. What is the mechanism you're using to go from having never heard of you to swiping their credit card? What does that process look like? If you can't answer at least 2 of those questions, who, how, what, you can literally spend an infinite amount of money on Facebook without ever knowing how to fix anything. And the reason is because if you just have one and you don't know the answer to 2, I'm just going to give one example. You'll just trust me, it's true for all 3. But basically, let's say you know exactly who to target. This thing is a thing that this audience buys. Women, Las Vegas, 30 to 50, with 2 kids under the age of 10. Okay, this is the demographic. I know 100% they want to buy this thing, but I don't know the ad they have to see or the way I'm going to convince them to buy. Now, I could target the right people all day long. If the messaging is wrong, the CPM and CPC, which is cost per click, CPC, and CPM is cost per impression. It's we call it 1,000 impressions. Well, so CPM is cost per 1,000 impressions. Both of those numbers will be high. Why? If a person sees an ad and they don't know what to do because they don't like it, they will ignore it, and you will spend more money to show it to more people. So that means that you will pay a lot of money and no one will click on it. So your CPM and CPC will be high. On top of that, no matter what your funnel looks like, if you don't know what's going to work, that same thing will be true until you accidentally guess right an additional factor in this situation. So if I only know the who and I don't know the how or what, I will never be able to guess right until I accidentally trip on the answer. So therefore, businesses should show up to Facebook knowing at least 2. I don't care which 2 it is. It could be they know exactly who they want to talk to and they know exactly the way to talk to them, exactly how to get them from, swipe to whatever, but I'm just not sure what content I need to target them. That's fine. That's fine. As long as I'm spending money to the right people and I know that they're going to eventually buy. I just have to show them enough different content until eventually they buy. I know it's going to happen. But if I don't also know it's true that they're going to buy, I can keep spending on the greatest content ever. But if they're not going to buy, I'm going to think it's the content. And I can keep putting more money in the content forever. So this reason I explained this whole thing was to say a thing I don't remember anymore that was really great. But you were asking about creating content. So the reason I brought this up was you have to show up to Facebook already knowing these are the sort of people I want to target. And this is a thing I expect these people to do. So if that already is true, then I'm going to now be able to start by testing content. So what do I like to do? If you take your warmest audiences, your email, your Instagram engagement, your website visitors, they're pretty warm people. That's people that know you. And you know a product already sells. You are aware that this product sells on your store. So you know it works. All you got to do is figure out the right content for these people. So if I just start 10 images, 2 videos, I don't know, whatever, just start with something and start showing your warm email list, your warm Facebook engagement, your warm website visitor, show them a product that sells with an offer that works, and just test a whole bunch of creative. What will happen is one of them should work. Even if it doesn't work, it works better than the other ones. So you'll pull that one out, and now you'll test the same proven offer to someone else.
Right.
Now two things again. The offer worked, and the ad worked. So now I could show it to a new group of people, and I could learn. I could test a whole bunch of audiences, and eventually I'll find one that works. And then I'll do the next thing, because lookalike 1% purchasers. It worked. I know it works. And I know they buy the thing. Guess what I could do? Make 10 new creatives. And I'll find one that works. And then I'll do the thing again, and it'll work for each part. So now you have the people and you have the ad. Can I make a better funnel? Can I make a different funnel? Can I run a new product? And you were talking about increasing lifetime value. This is that exact thing. If you find an audience that works and a way to sell them, just keep producing new offers. Get a whole bunch of new offers, and those same group of people will keep buying. So this is how you scale ads. It's probably how you scale everything in your business. You build the initial warm audience, you create content that actually sells to them, you sell a thing. Now you find new people and new ad and new thing. New people, new ad, new thing. New people, new ad, new thing. And you're building like the pyramid of hopefully like square shape, increase in everything. You're rolling out new products. So that means that the old people will buy the new products. You're reaching new people. So those people are buying the old products. You're creating better ads. So those people are converting better. So you've now created a system that continually scales and continually optimizes, allowing you to keep spending to newer audiences all the time, understanding how you have to reach different audiences, because you learn, okay, if this audience likes this, let's try that same thing to a new group of people. Should I test interests? Should I try new geographical locations? Okay, that thing worked for America. Can I just roll it out to Canada? Now, obviously, that matters if you're an e-commerce platform. Can I actually ship to Canada? Like now you have all those logistic issues. The minute you climb that hurdle, you've now solved a really great scalability issue, because I now can sell to Canada. Well, guess what? I have all the ads I need. I have all the offers I need. I have, I might even have already warm people in my audience that are in that country that I could never sell to before because I didn't ship there. And now you've scaled to another country. Use the exact same messaging, use the exact same offer to a new population. And then that same thing is true with a new lookalike. And guess what? Lookalike scale in size as well. I don't know if you're familiar, but when you create a Facebook ad, they ask you what percentage of audience you want. What that means is you pick a country, let's just call it America. America has about 250 million people that have a Facebook account. So when you create a 1% lookalike on Facebook, that's 1% of the population of the country that uses the platform. So a 1% audience in America is 2.5 million people. But you can actually make a 2% audience too, and a 3, and a 5, and a 7, and a 10. And there are even API, fun things that allow you to go up to 20%. So now all of a sudden you found out that your lookalike purchaser audience, 1% worked. Well, guess what? There's another 42.5 million people that are like those people that are also a lookalike to purchasers, 20%, that look very similar to your people, which means that they probably want to buy stuff like your people want to buy, and they want to buy it the same way that the other people buy from you. Now, all of a sudden, you took a proven working audience and you multiplied it by 20 times. And you can keep going for every type of audience, and you can keep going for every type of ad, and you can keep going for every type of offer.
So you're saying there's a lot of people on Facebook. That's pretty much what you're saying in a nutshell.
Well, there's definitely a lot of people on Facebook, but once you cracked the code of this works, don't say, okay, I'm done. Now the question is, how do I do it 100 times more?
And what's amazing here is that, like very similar to the email and SMS channel, we're very big on isolating the variable and zeroing in on exactly what are we testing, what are we not testing, and diving into that, because I think that we can all admit that that's a great way to work smarter, not harder, by, not just throwing dollars at a challenge, right? Kind of saying, hey, how do we make sure that our dollars are working smart and that our strategists and our marketers are actually providing us smarter data, and that even our customers are having a better experience. So it's kind of that whole kind of trifecta, you'd say, is possible with just by isolating the variable.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Sure.
I agree to that statement. I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to respond to you, but yes.
Yes is always good. That's what I always tell my wife. Let's just say yes.
I concur.
Tell my kids yes.
Exactly.
I wish I had something to add to that, but I just agree with
that's good. Your agreeing is your validation is important here too. So you are the king of Facebook media, Facebook ads. So sorry, the crown of Facebook ads. So we know
crown
emoji. Sorry. So let's talk about how you work specifically with e-commerce businesses, the types of businesses that you like to focus on, and then you mentioned the offer itself. I mean that's the epitome of any real process and getting somebody to be through that funnel and from who, what, and how. Now they're a purchaser. Okay, so now what do you do with somebody like that? Do you retarget them for future purchases? Like how do you upscale? How do you scale the lifetime value of a customer there through Facebook ads?
So step one is to understand what those users already do, right? Because if you have 1,000 people that bought from you one time, what did those 1,000 people already do? So I'm a big proponent of sort of working backwards from what's already happening. So imagine if, it's funny, like this is like exactly the last speech I gave. This thing I'm about to say is exactly the last speech I gave. And imagine you're an e-commerce business and you know the process of how someone went from having never heard of you to buy, right? This exact, the how that we were just talking about. So you know what that is. So the example I gave in the speech was, you know that a person doesn't find you just by accident. The way they find you is by getting tagged from a friend. That is, the best users don't come. This is just an example. This is not everyone, just an example. The best users for your specific business comes from being tagged on Instagram from a friend that already knows you. And after they've seen you the first time, they probably won't follow you right away, but they want to see, they'll see more content from you. And then at some point they'll be like, I really like them. I'm going to follow them now. And then at some point they're probably going to message you. And at some point they're probably going to end up on your website. And then they'll wait until they see the product that they want to buy from you. And at some point they'll buy from you. So that's the funnel. It happens in these like 4 or 5 stages of being tagged by someone, seeing a bunch of posts from you, liking you enough to come visit your site. Maybe they give their email at some point, and then they're buying, right? So now the way I like to approach it is I want to recreate this exact experience with Facebook ads. How can I make a person feel like this thing is happening to them with an ad? So now the average Facebook advertiser would probably say to you, well, you want to reach new cold people, you target new cold people. But I would say to you, but that's not how people find you. They don't find you from seeing you on an ad. They find you because their friend told you that you should be found. So what if you started off by targeting your Instagram engagers? Run an ad to them that says, tag your friend, you see these posts all the time, at your second person that's going to live on this island with you. I don't know, these super weird Facebook posts that do really well, that for reasons I still don't truly understand, people are like tagging other random strangers on the internet for some reason. So basically, that process happens where a user that knows you tags someone else. So you should create that process, let that process happen. So, and then you think, okay, what would be the first thing I would do if I was tagged on a random piece of content on the internet? So one, I would probably consume that piece of content. And then 2 is I'd visit the social media page of that business.
Right.
But guess what? That's a targeting option. You can target people that visit your Instagram page or your Facebook page. So now I've completed step one. I targeted warm people that already know me, paid Instagram engagers, and convinced them somehow to tag another person. And that's happening. And it's great. All those people that they're tagging, they were cold. They didn't know me. They don't know who I am, but they're learning about me from their friend. Exactly how a regular person learns about me. And then I'm targeting them again because I know that they probably, maybe they consume that piece of content, which is great. And you could target by the consumption of that piece of content. If it's a video, target 50%, 75% of viewers of that video. But I know that they likely didn't go so far as message me or visit my website. So what I could then do is curate a series of hand-picked best performing content for them to see. So they actually get to experience the very best of my page over the course of the next 2-3 weeks. And guess what? This is exactly what happens for that organic audience. They get tagged and then they want to see more. I get to pick what they see. And I can target those people that just visited my Instagram page, excluding any more in-depth engagement, and show them my 5, 10, whatever it is, best performing pieces of content. Guess what they're going to do? Engage, become better engagers. They've now moved to step 3. Now I could get them to my website, get them on my email list, make them move through step 3, which is get to know my brand enough for step 4, which is the purchase. So now I got them on step 1 by targeting their friends who already knew me. I retargeted them with my best ads. I got them on my email list using, I don't know what, a lead form, a coupon, who knows what, free shipping, sure. Then you get them to the last stage, which is they're going to buy something from you. But guess what? You know what your organic first-time buyers buy from you. You have data, so you already know what they're going to buy. You literally present the 3 options. You run 3 ads to this group of people. They're engagers. They've been to your website. They're on your email list. They know who you are, but they've never bought from you. Why? They've never seen the ad that people buy from. You know exactly what it is. You create that exact ad, and that is the thing you show these people. You've literally recreated the entire organic experience of how everyone else bought from you. That is how you do it again. So now the answer to your actual question, which is how do you get your previous purchasers to buy again, is you understand how a small demographic of those people do it, and you let that happen again. Is that including, stuff in your package to get them to take a screen, a selfie with the product as they're unboxing? That some people, I've seen, I assume everyone on the internet knows who Richard Branson is.
Yes.
They say Russell Brunson. That's the name I meant. Not the Virgin Galactic guy, the guy with the boxes, ClickFunnels guy. So Russell Brunson sends you a box, and it's taped with like this red tape on it with a big sticker that says, "Don't open till you're recording." And then he tells you exactly like how to tag it on the internet. He's going to give you a free thing. I don't know, whatever. So guess what? You've now created a new piece of content, every person that you send the box to. So if you understand how your existing users buy or how new users are interested, they're probably interested because they see these videos on the internet of people opening boxes. They're trying on your product. They're showing it off. Get more people to make videos like that and show them off to the internet. Do exactly what already works on large scales. And
share your main highlights, the top performers of your organic social. We actually, as an agency, do a lot of that, where we kind of do a lot of daily content, and then we can run ads based on our top performers, and hopefully that fills the funnel. We use the 3x3 Facebook strategy on that end. But yeah, for e-commerce brands, they probably are always looking to kind of figure out the hacks to kind of get customers, like you just said. It's great that you said that, recreate that organic experience using Facebook ads.
Yeah, and there's a lot of that also that we talk about from the email side, where somebody who comes to your site, joins your email list, now you're nurturing them into a sale. You're nurturing them through a series of 5, 6, 7 emails, because we know that people don't always buy in that first engagement. They don't always, connect the first time they see you. And the same thing that you're saying with your ads is that they're not necessarily going to take the action you want them to take after the first time they've seen you, or the second, or the third. It might take 5, 6, 7, 8 times till they take that action that you want, but you're already guiding them through that process. Same way with email and SMS, we're guiding them through a process of, you'll learn more about us as you go, And then towards the end, hopefully you're ready to buy. If not, then they're back into the main funnel, and then they'll see the rest of our stuff, our campaigns and our marketing material that comes with everything else. Same way with Facebook ads. Now they're engaged in your content. They'll start seeing it in their feed because they know that, you know that who these people are, and they're ready consuming your content that way. So look, this is something that you can easily talk about for hours. I know you, and you can definitely do that. And your enthusiasm literally comes through the screen. So we love it, and we appreciate it. Our podcast
just for the record,
about,
I actually have given a 7-hour presentation.
Oh my God. No, we're not doing that. Maybe we could do this again, but not 7 hours. No, I don't think our listeners want to sit for that long. But your entire philosophy is literally working smarter, right? You're taking people who are doing things already, but not necessarily the most efficient way, not necessarily the most smart and successful ways, and you're working them towards being more successful. You're taking the investment that they're already putting into it, maximizing it to the greatest potential that it has. So would you say that would you agree with that, or would you say that that's a little bit off?
I agree to that statement.
We're getting you to just concur today. That's good. That's good. So
yes, but again, so, you mentioned that it takes a lot of time for people to see stuff. So HubSpot, famously created this thing called the rule of 7, that they noticed that people just have to see a message a couple of times, seven times, before they're prepared to buy something. So HubSpot, if you ever were on their blog, in 2012, 13, 14, they did this thing where they would put extra thumbnails of the same image over the same, you'd be reading a blog post and it'd be headline, pop-up, sidebar, sweeping thing onto the bottom, things would pop up, and it would be the exact same ad over and over. And it was intentional for them, because they said that the person just needed to see it enough time to okay, fine, I'll click it, fine, I'll do it, sure, I'm ready. So that was a bit much of an experience, but the idea is that sometimes it really is just a matter of a person seeing a product enough times, even not the same product, but a product. So as a quick example, I ran ads for a boutique kids clothing store for about 3.5 years. And what we noticed was that people were ready to buy most of the time. They just had to see the right image that they wanted to buy from. So it's they were prepared to buy a bunch of random stuff on the website, and they were just waiting for that one piece of content. I was I'm going to buy from this one. So what we had noticed is frequency from their warm audience was relatively high, 3-4 times a week. They would see a creative, but it would be a different image, a different video, a different carousel, a different photo album. It would be different all the time. And then for whatever reason, they would click on this one and not that one. And so many times you have to almost work harder, because the answer to get the most sales was the harder work. It was running a 32 creatives, because there is no streamline. It's just, well, they wanted to buy pants, and this ad you had a pair of pants they wanted. That's the one. The one with the dress, they didn't want to click on that one. They wanted pants. So they're because people on the other side of the screen that are actually swiping credit cards are not robots yet. Hopefully soon they will, because then I'll make more money when the robots are swiping credit cards. But for now, they're humans that swipe credit cards. So you also have to, on top of the marketing side of marketing, there's the psychological side of marketing, which I actually like more than the marketing side of marketing, is the understanding of human psychology, which is the name of the game as things get more difficult. Is you understand why are people doing these funny things on my website, and then you understand why they're doing it. Then you try to fix that thing. So as an example, this big client, I noticed this week that the average user visits 8 to 10 pages on their website before they buy. That sounds like a lot of pages. Why are they doing this thing? So now I'm working with them to try to figure out how to get that down to 4 pages on their website. Imagine how much higher conversion rate would be if they don't have to visit 8 pages till they get to an add to cart because they're searching the whole website for this very specific thing they can't find. And that's why they have to go through all these pages. And so if you understand, if you use the data, so if you work smart, you, the business, work smart and understand how these people are doing things, many times that really is just like, take a random person off the street and just watch them use your website. Like, why are they doing these funny things? Give them a phone, bring them to your website and let them just do whatever they want. Tell them, do me a favor, buy this product, we'll pay you the money, use this credit card, pay for it. I just want to watch you do it. Just do it on my website, see what it does. And understanding like why users do those things and then enable them to do that thing more efficiently.
Yeah.
So one of our past podcast guests, what we said was, you know, not many brands tend to poll their own customers to get feedback on what the experience was, what the product was, and ironically, that is probably the biggest source of content a brand can have. Just a simple review from a customer can be used in numerous different ways on your cart abandoned emails, on your homepage banner, or a positive review. We see that in a lot of brands now, and a Facebook ad, and on just even a YouTube video alone. All these places just from one piece of content. If I was to say that's one place to work smart, not hard, it would be in getting that user-generated content up and then repurposing it everywhere.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Concur.
Yeah, you concur. Exactly. There's a lot here. And, you know, we haven't even touched the surface of, you know, what happens after somebody clicks on an ad and the experience that a person has when it comes to websites and the conversion rate optimization, because that's a whole nother story. And I know that you don't really deal with that, but that is a huge part of your business. Like you can run.
I mean, you have to. Even I don't actually do those things. I'm letting you speak now. Try that again. Say the sentence again.
No, you're answering it, but the idea was that you can run the best ad to the best audience and have them do the action that you want them to do within Facebook. But once you get past Facebook, it's another challenge. So you have to make sure that when you are running those Facebook ads, the website is top notch and it's ready to convert, and people are ready to take that action that you want them to take after they've left the Facebook ad and gone to the website. So, you know, I know that, you know, you're about to say that you don't do the conversion rate and you don't do the website development, but
I mean, part of the strategy. So what I was going to say was, I actually have this client that I came to them day one and I said, your landing page has too much stuff going on. Now, I'm not an expert in how to do this, but what I would do is get rid of all of it and do just one thing, just pick one. Like as an example, the single landing page had a phone number, they had a contact form, they had an option for you to write your phone number for them to call you. They had an option to text you. They had an option to chat on like a chat box on the website. I'm just like, the person doesn't know what you want them to do. They don't know what they should be doing. There's
right.
Too many options. So I would say like, take this exact landing page and just get rid of all of it. Just pick one, make 3 versions of the page, one only with the chat box, one only with the phone number, and one only with the contact form. See which one works, and we do it more. And now how to actually optimize and make that great. You should hire a CRO. You should. Yeah. That is a thing businesses should do. Sure. Like when you're at that stage in your business, you should figure out how to hire a professional person that does this all day. That's what they do. They optimize landing pages, just like you'd hire a person that sends emails. You can hire a graphic designer. You should hire a person that makes great landing pages. So I basically told them like, this is the type of landing page I would want to use in an ad. You should pay someone to do a great job at doing it. Mm-hmm. So we could use the best ad. So obviously if they have someone in-house that can make quick, A/B tested landing pages, and I could just start testing a bunch, we could probably get away without having a CRO, because I know what I want to test. So that's the thing you were saying was, I don't do it as a service, but many times I need to step in to push them to do a test because I want a better performing landing page. Right. So if it's either me telling them make a page exactly like this, or they should go and hire someone to make great landing pages and optimized by like crazy things like the color of the page and the button size and the word on the button and where the eye on the person is. They're crazy. Yeah. It's a little nuts.
So many. I mean, my background's in HTML coding, so I know exactly what you're talking about. There's so many things that you're that you have to fix or measure to make sure that your ads are running properly too, because like we said, you have to make sure that your landing page is converting, because otherwise your ads are going to be wonderful, but they're not going to be profitable. So like I said, this is something that we can easily talk about for hours. I feel like that's something that you would love to do. Maybe not 7 hours, not on this podcast, but another time. Any last thoughts? We are a little bit longer than we wanted to be, but it's been a fun conversation. So give us your last insights of how you would advise an e-commerce brand to either get started in Facebook ads or to maximize the potential of their existing Facebook ads.
So I'm going to reiterate the thing I said earlier. So again, if you're an e-commerce brand and you're not already spending money on Facebook ads, that's already a little crazy. Right now in 2022, the idea that you're a successful e-commerce brand, you mentioned like over $1 million in revenue, you're not spending money on Facebook ads, you're losing money. You're just leaving money available to you on the table. Even, an abandoned cart email works, right? That's not a question you have to ask. Like the person added their product to cart and they didn't buy, some of them will come back and buy if you tell them to, either through an email or an SMS. That is 100% factual statement. I don't think anyone disagrees with that on any website. But imagine you also show them an ad on Facebook. Those people will also buy from there. They might not have opened the email. They might have missed the SMS, but they will see an ad at some point. If you spend enough money to that audience of abandoned carts, they will buy. So if you're not running ads, there is money being lost. Now, the second step, which is what I mentioned earlier, is there are always more people to target. There are always better offers to give them, and there are always better, more efficient ways of selling to them. So that means that Facebook ads is not a place where you set up a single ad, target a group of people, and run them to a homepage of yours and walk away. Facebook ads is a living, breathing, site that must be updated all the time, so that you're showing them new offers, you're giving them the option, targeting new people, coming up with new things to do, so that you continually grow your brand. And if you just say like, I'm sort of happy with where it is right now, we should just sort of keep this, you are losing money, because there's more people to sell to, and there's better ways to sell to people you're already selling to, and there's another ad to test. There's always something more to find. And so if you're sort of in this place where you're like, I'm spending $5,000, $10,000, $12,000 a month, and it's kind of it's working, there's likely a way to spend $35,000, to spend $57,000, to spend $108,000, and it also could be working. And if you're not increasing your spend and you're not finding new people, you are actively losing money for your brand.
Yeah, and it goes, you can go a layer even deeper, like exactly what you're saying is you're losing money by simply not orchestrating the acquisition with the retention. Like you said, it has to go hand in hand. Otherwise, you're just throwing dollars at people who may buy directly, may buy organically, or at the flip side, missing out on the potential people that are coming to your site and not buying and not building a relationship with you. And at the end of the day, it's always about building a better customer relationship, no matter where they are. That's kind of where you are, and being where your customer is at and meeting them where they're at. And I found that's always been successful for a lot of brands. So well said, and how you put it together.
Thank you. I concur.
You concur. So Azriel, thanks so much for joining us. This has been another fun episode of the Ecom 8020 podcast. I'm your host, Jacob Rosenberg, with my partner, Isaac Hyman. And Azriel Ratz joined us today from Ratzback Media, the king of Facebook ads. And we appreciate you joining us. Thanks so much for listening, everybody. Have a great week.
Thanks for listening to the Ecom 8020 podcast. If you enjoyed this show, please make sure to subscribe and follow us on social at HiFlyer Digital for daily tips, content, and videos. To put this week's strategy into action and move your brand forward, go to HiFlyerDigital.com/book and schedule a free 15-minute chat with Isaac and Yaakov. Let's partner together to compete and win at e-commerce. Your brand is worth it. Until next week, this is Isaac and Yaakov wishing you a successful and profitable week.